my favorite things about the audience I've built up here on YouTube over the last 17 years is that you let me get away with nothing. That happened last month when viewer GID wrote, "You didn't drive the point through hard enough, especially for Mark's ending." GID is referring to the original ending of the Gospel of Mark, which ended with the women running from the empty tomb, afraid and telling no one. The 11 verses added later to Mark chapter 16, from verses 9 through 19, add Jesus' appearance to Mary Magdalene, the disciples not believing her report, Jesus appearing to two of the disciples on a country road, whose report was also disbelieved, and finally Jesus appearing to the remaining disciples and rebuking all of them for their lack of faith. In the final verses, Jesus tells the disciples to convert the world, assuring them that they'll be able to do all manner of miracle in his name, after which Jesus is taken up into heaven, what we would call the mesosphere, thermosphere, or exosphere if you're talking about the Most High God. The point being that the Gospel of Mark, at least in the earliest manuscripts we have, has no, nada, zero, zilch, not one post-resurrection appearance of Jesus. There is no examination of his hands and feet, no doubting Thomas playing just the tip with the stab wound to Jesus' side, no breakfast, lunch, dinner, or 40 days of hanging out. No appearance to the 500, etc. So now, let's see if I can drive the point through and make GID proud of me again. Let's start with this: Markan priority. If you pick up a Bible and start reading the Gospels, you'll find them ordered Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But the vast majority of biblical scholars, from the most evangelical to the entirely disbelieving, agree that Mark's Gospel was the first to be written. For a whole host of reasons you can discover in video after video right here on YouTube. Then, it's important to realize that all of the Gospels were written anonymously. No one knows who the authors are. All we have is tradition and the say-so of some early church fathers. But on this point, I want to be generous, for reasons which are entirely self-serving. The author of Mark's Gospel is said to have been a travel companion, first of Paul and Mark's cousin Barnabas. Then later, Mark acted as a kind of secretary or scribe to Peter. This is confirmed by Church Father Papias, early in the 2nd century. Mark became Peter's interpreter and wrote accurately all that he remembered, not indeed in order, of the things said and done by the Lord. Of Christianity's founders, disciples, apostles, etc., of whom we can have high confidence in terms of their claim of having seen the resurrected Jesus, Peter stands atop that very short list with Paul. So Mark, having been a companion of both Paul and Peter, would have had access to the very best information regarding Jesus and the resurrection. And what does Mark tell us? Again, absolutely nothing about the resurrected Jesus. The guy who hung with the rock upon which Jesus built his church, Peter's scribe, who, according to Papias, wrote accurately all that Peter remembered, tells us that someone at the tomb told the women Jesus was risen. And upon hearing that, the women ran away in fear, telling no one. That's it. That's your accurate recollection of what Peter remembered, as written by his faithful scribe Mark. This is the earliest report we have of Jesus' life, death, and alleged resurrection, the earliest reports generally being the most reliable. And all we have is some anonymous person telling some women that Jesus is risen. No appearances of the risen Jesus at all. None whatsoever, based on Peter and Paul's reports to Mark. Are we really to believe that Mark hung out with Jesus' lead apostle, who allegedly saw the resurrected Jesus and hung out with him for 40 days? And Mark just decided to leave on the cutting room floor those most important parts of the story? Really? If that's enough for you to believe that virtually all of the laws of physics and biology were broken to raise a man from the dead, then I need you to know that, once again, I'm Elvis Presley. Thanks for watching.